Hey YouTube, it's Jacob here, and we're bringing you another one. Okay, it's been a while. Okay, I'm excited about this piece. This piece is called the Peacock King. It reminded me of the Lion King, so I'm like, oh, he kind of looks like a king, but he's a peacock. He's not a lion, so he's a Peacock King. I'm not good with names, okay? This is one of those pieces where I'm like, oh, I can draw. Like when I do like simple things, maybe like something like this, I don't know, I'm picking a random simple thing that I'm hovering right here. When I just draw stuff like this, it's like, all right, I know I can draw. But when I do stuff like this, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can draw, you know, like, and then, you know, my birthday's coming up in a few weeks. And probably like 2 weeks from when this is posted. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm almost 30 years old. Like I turned 30. Yeah, this is 30 years of drawing. It should look like this. It should be detailed and, you know, not saying all my artwork is going to be like this. Sometimes I got to keep it simple, dimple. But I'm really happy to have drawn this. And I see all of the things that I learned inside of this drawing, and it's just like, wow. Yeah, so before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe, push that notification button, because we're going to keep bringing this stuff to you. So let's get started. So, okay, this, I don't know, the peacock was just like in my head for a few weeks. Maybe like a month ago, it was like, oh, I was going to do a woman. I was like, I should do a woman and then have the hair be peacock feathers. So that was like the idea. But then I just kept thinking, I'm like, but the peacock, the peacock that we know as the image is the male, not the female. The females don't have the feathers like that. That's how it is in the animal kingdom all the way around. So I was like, no, it should be a man because in real life, they're men, they're males. So I'm like, okay, but I didn't want it to be like too feminine. So I was like, how can I like do it and still have that like rough or like majestic type of look? And I was like, oh, I can make him like a king and then he's a peacock king. And then that's what kind of took it to where it is. So anyway, you can see I'm sketching it all out. And when I sketched, you probably saw it right in the beginning. It was just like, it just was right there already. It's because I put it in a square image, but I knew I wanted it a little bit longer. Because you just need that length. A square is just not always going to work for everything. And not just that, I kind of just threw it in somewhere because I didn't want to forget the idea. Usually I write down my ideas. Like I have a long list of drawings that I'm going to be doing. It's a long list. And it grows and there's no order to it. And I usually write it down. But it was so in my head. And then, you know how you buy a new pair of sneakers and then like those sneakers are everywhere. Like you never seen those sneakers before. And then you see those sneakers everywhere. It was like that. Like the moment I thought about Peacock, I couldn't unsee it. Like it was popping up everywhere. I just watched Kung Fu Panda, the second movie, and the villain is a peacock. I'm like, this is okay. That was my last straw, honestly. I was like, okay, let me just do it. And I did it. And usually I procrastinate drawings like this. I guess the idea was procrastinated, but I usually procrastinate detail. And I was like, nope, I'm gonna go all the way through. And it took me 6 hours to do this drawing. So you can see I sketched everything out. I was gonna ink it. And everything was telling me, do not ink this. This is not an ink drawing. You need the roughness. You need the details. Go all the way in. Go all the way in. And even though I did David Ruffin, which has like a lot of detail, like that's one of my high detail designs, it's still like graphic ink type of look, which is nothing wrong with that. But I really wanted a rough look with this. So instead of inking it, also that's probably why it was only 6 hours, because if I inked it, it would have turned into a 10-hour project. David Ruffin was 10 hours because I inked it and colored it with detail. This, I didn't have to ink it, but even though it was faster, this would cost more because it takes a lot more thinking and a lot more effort, even though the other one takes more time, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I'm saying that because, commissions are open. So, send me a DM or email just so you know what the price range look like. Anyway, so you can see I did like a base silhouette of all the colors. Now I'm going into, I wanted to do the skin first and just roughing out some shading just a little bit to get an idea of the bone structure and the muscle structure of the face. Something I don't, well, I guess I do it. I don't know why I did it this way, but I put the eyes and the eyebrows on a completely different layer. I don't know if that helped or hurt me. I don't know. And I mean, in the long run, it worked out, but it would have been easier if it was on the same layer as the skin, but I think I had less control over the skin by having the eyes on. If the eyes were on the same layer as the skin, I would have had to really do a lot more painting, but to separate the layers a little bit, I don't know. I maybe have to try it another way. Anyway, so then I did the beard. I was seeing what it looked like without it. It looks okay without it too. And then you can see it's like real rough, which it looks good, but then it looked better cleaned up closer to the skin. I don't know. You know, all these things are like ideas. The background idea didn't hit me. Like, I didn't think about this idea when I was thinking about the idea. It came to me as I was drawing. I was like, oh, well, the peacock feathers are usually up. So even though it's down in the front, let it spread out. And my favorite area is on the right section. Maybe I'll point to it. But this area right here, oh my gosh, that is my favorite section of the entire piece. Right now, it's not that big of a deal, but as it adds detail, that nook, that curve, I love it. So anyway, you can see me adding all the details. I was like, should I go the real traditional look of a peacock feather? And once I was laziness, like, no, I don't want to do all that. But others, I was like, no, this is my drawing. I can do it how I want. As long as you kind of get an idea, then I can change it how I want. So I was like, let me just have the suggestion of. So you can see I'm adding jewelry. I'm glad I added the jewelry because it just brought royalty, but I didn't know what direction. And then you can see I went there. The face painting was also a last minute idea. Like, maybe need some face painting. And then I'm like, should I have the jewelry or not? But I like the idea that I can have an image with the jewelry, without the jewelry as well. So now you see me going back into the shading and just adding in. So what I did was kind of hard shading, and then use the what is it called? The smear tool on Procreate to kind of just soften some of those edges. That was something I always hesitated with back in the day. I just thought everything had to be hard shapes, which I like. I like that look, but you got to soften it up for designs like this because it makes it more natural, more realistic. Some areas hard, some areas soft when it comes to the shading. So, and I'm just, it's not a bunch of, okay, it's a lot of layers, but I didn't separate the art so much like I would usually do. Like some things I'm just painting directly on it, whereas the shading is on its own layer. So just kind of going back and forth on what felt right. I was really worried about how I was going to make the back feathers look, but I actually think they turned out okay. They probably could have been better, but they're definitely better than what I thought they were going to turn out to be. So I'm going in, adding all the details, and knowing in the future the highlights is what makes the image. But if you don't have the correct shading, with the shadows, then the highlights are not going to work. So you want to get your shadows right, or as dark as you need them to be, so that your highlights bring everything forward. So usually I like just a straight blinding highlight, but the face needed to be brightened up a little bit before I go to the real highlight. So this is more like mid-tones, and then later on I bring in those extreme highlights. The hair, or at least the top part of the hair, I don't know, it has a little bit. Now you might notice that the sketchy what do you call it, like the pencil sketching is still there. That was another decision. I was like, do I keep it there? Do I not keep it there? Sometimes it is distracting, and sometimes it adds. In this piece, I think it added to it. And yeah, I'll show you later at this. I did a white version color of this piece, and it was distracting for the white color version, so I took it off. So every color palette has a different thing. So you can see I'm going in. I'm adding the highlights to the gold. I mean, I love gold. If you don't already know, I love gold. And I love how gold looks. Silver is not my thing. Okay. So you see I'm going in, I'm getting the earrings, make sure it's highlight. And now I'm going into the rim lighting on the left side of his face. and just really, and this just brings it all the way. Like this is what brings it forward. Okay. And add a little bit of light in the eyes. Oh, that's what I did. I did a little bit of light in the eyes, but it made it too, like, it felt like it popped out. So I had to just remove it and let it sink in. As you can see, the eyes are not white. Your eyes are not white. Cartoons, you want the eyes to be white. It actually looks weird when it's not white. But for a realistic character, you want it to have more of a tan beige color. It fits a little bit more into the temperature of the character. Now, I did this hue lighting, which I like to do sometimes, but it just, no, it wasn't giving. It wasn't giving at all. It was too much. So you'll see later, I just decided to take it away. Yeah, there we go. So there we go. This was like, wow, this was a cool piece. Like, it gave me inspiration for the future, like what other drawings. This is the one right here of the bluish white version of it. I did this because I don't like when, so like on Instagram, I'll post the regular drawing, but then I don't want the next drawing of the speed drawing that I post to be the same exact thumbnail. It just is like, of course, it's two different things. One is an image you can look at with detail, and the other one's the speed drawing, but I don't want my whole page to look like double. So sometimes I'll either like take the background out or just something to make it look different. And in this case, it was just a different color palette, but it was like, dang, this was a really cool color palette. I was like, okay, all right. But anyway, so that's this. Anyway, I'm looking forward to more pieces. My birthday's coming up in 2 weeks, so I have a cool video coming out of my top 30 favorite drawings, or top 30 something. It's my top 30 something because it's my 30th birthday, so I'm doing 30 drawings and I'm ranking them from least to my favorite. So you'll probably see this piece somewhere in there. Stay tuned. If you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, push that notification button, because we're going to keep bringing this stuff to you. That's it. I don't know what you want. That's it. What are you doing? I know you're not about to leave without liking or sharing or something. I know you see that red button. You better subscribe to my channel. See you soon.